Words on a fairly short time frame, so we'll move right along. I had a great engineering joke I was going to tell. Where's Carpenter?
I'm over here waiting, Gary.
Jim and I usually give talks. I get 55 minutes, he gets 5. But so I'm going to read a lot of this to try and move it along. First of all, I want to thank the Transportation Board for coming to Moscow. We've been wanting to show off our Intermodal Transit Center for some time, and schedules just haven't permitted for it to be displayed to you prior to now. It was dedicated in December of 2012. Especially want to thank Chairman Whitehead, Jan Vassar, our District 2 representative on the board, and the rest of the board, as well as Director Ness, Scott Stokes, and Chief Operations Officer Jim Carpenter, and Dave Queasty, of course, our District Engineer, Doral Hoff, and Ken Helm, who do a lot of work with the City of Moscow. And just want to, on behalf of the City of Moscow, thank the board for the continued work on the South 95 from Moscow to Thorn Creek. With everybody working together, hopefully we'll be able to get that in and make the transportation a little bit more safe in Idaho. And thank you for your support also of public transit. We'll be coming to you in the very near future. You've probably been reading that we have a big runway realignment at the Pullman-Moscow Airport. That is one of the 7 commercial airports designated by the state of Idaho. And we'll be looking to you for some technical and hopefully financial assistance on that pretty large project. I want to welcome you to the beautiful facility of the Intermodal Transit Center. Like Moscow's public transit system, this building represents a collaboration and coalition of a lot of different interests and a lot of stakeholders. Fixed route transportation started in Moscow about 10 years ago now. It was an outgrowth of Lewiston Transit or Valley Transit at that time. It was an easy decision for us. They came up, we were putting about $12,000 into public transit that was mostly going to Dial-A-Ride. And Tom LaPointe, who was the executive director of Valley Transit at that time, said, how about if we just start one up there and it won't cost you a cent? Well, how can you turn that down? A little better federal funding formula in those days. Since that time, the obligations have gotten bigger, but so is our ridership. Right now, we still get federal funding, obviously, from the FTA for public transit, but our local partners, the City of Moscow and University of Idaho, also support public transportation, our fixed route transit system, to the tune of about $110,000 a year, and that number is likely going to increase as we expand and costs go up. But Moscow, as an entity now, is very committed and as a community to public transit. We want that to continue. An outshoot of that is our van pool service that Jen Piffner is our director of the van pool service. We have 3 vans that commute between Moscow and Lewiston. We have a lot of people who come up from Lewiston to work at the University of Idaho, other places in Moscow, and that is a great service as well. And of course cuts down traffic on the highways, so that's a great deal as well. The facility, the Intermodal Transit Center, was first identified by the Local Mobility Management Network Plan as the top priority in District 2. The Local Mobility Management Network Plan is known as the Lemon Plan, which I always thought was a bit of an unfortunate acronym, but we were able to make it a reality. We started talking about that as soon as the Lemon Plan came out and started looking at ways that we could make it happen. One of those ways was to apply for a Federal Transportation Administration Tiger II grant. I mean, it was part of the stimulus funding. Everybody thought it was great. Shovel-ready projects. Well, we weren't exactly shovel-ready, but we started working on it. And Elisa Anderson, our grants manager, and Bill Belknap, our community development director, worked together to submit an application back in 2010, I believe. And lo and behold, I was sitting in a meeting one day. Elisa comes in and whispers in my ear and says, guess what? Just got notice we got a $1.5 million Tiger II grant. Well, at that point, as the shock and awe kind of sank in, we realized we are nowhere near ready to do this. We didn't have our funding lined up, didn't have a location, barely had a concept plan. So we put that together in an amazingly short period of time. One of the things that is truly unique about this facility is that it is a City of Moscow building sitting on a University of Idaho piece of land. And it's a 40-year lease, something that had never been done before. The University of Idaho determined that public transportation was also going to help their students and their faculty. In fact, Wayne Krause will talk about smart transit. Right now, we've got about, I believe, 163,000 annual boardings on our public transit system. About 60% or over 60% of those people are affiliated in some way with the University of Idaho. So you can imagine how the impact on the parking and transportation system here, as well as just moving people in and out of the campus. When we built this facility, of course, $1.5 million from the Tiger II grant. We had about $430,000 from other FTA 5309 funding. The University of Idaho's land value was $600,000, and we came up with cash in the amount of just shy of $200,000. Dedicated in December of 2012, Rick Kirchalis, the regional director for FTA, attended that. It was a great soiree. We had a podium, which obviously I'm used to speaking behind, but we're very proud of the efforts that came together to make this facility. We want to thank the Transportation Board, your executive team, and of course the district in helping make public transportation a reality. With that, I will turn it over to Ron Smith, Vice President of Finance and Administration at the University of Idaho. I will have to leave you. We're currently interviewing fire chief candidates, and I've got about 10 minutes to get there. So again, thank you all. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks, Gary. Yeah, Gary's leaving because he's heard me speak before. That's the real reason. I'm wearing two hats here today as a member of the SMART Board of Directors, and then also I'm standing in for our President, Chuck Staven, who is sorry he couldn't be here, but he's been called out of town for other commitments. But he wanted me to welcome you, and he's really happy that you're here, and he wished he was here. This project is a model of collaboration, I believe, between the city and the university. The city met with University of Idaho early in the project to discuss the potential for the Intermodal Transit Center, or ITC, to be located on the University of Idaho campus. And we looked at a number of locations and decided that a lot of the locations were right between Sweet Avenue and College Street, right here on Railroad. This is the one that we decided on. That this section is valued, as Gary said, about $600,000. The University of Idaho also was able to transfer $200,000 additional funding from another previously approved transportation research grant from FTA and dedicated to this project. The city owns the building, and the University of Idaho leases the land, again, as Gary indicated, on a 40-year no-cost lease. We, again, believe this project is a true collaboration and an excellent example of town and gown relationships. Another advantage that we have here is you'll see the art displays out here, which provides our architect students a chance to display what they do, and this revolves during the year. So that's been an added benefit. And it's estimated that, as Gary said too, 60% of the SMART ridership are U of I students, faculty, and staff. The ITC supports the University of Idaho's vision for a robust and connected university and a strong community transit system as part of the University of Idaho's long-range campus development plan. Strategically located, the ITC integrates the University of Idaho's parking and transportation services and operations with the local and regional transit providers. The University of Idaho also is dedicated to and promotes alternative transportation modes, including bicycle access, pedestrian circulation and access, and the Travel Access Shuttle is committed to providing disabled students, employees, and visitors equal access to campus and its services. The University of Idaho provides many transportation-related services, and here to share those with you is our Director of Parking and Transportation Services, Carl Root. Carl's a man of tremendous amount of knowledge and experience in the transportation area, and the university is lucky and proud to have Carl as part of the team. So I'm going to let Carl.
Thank you very much. Again, Carl Ruden, Parking and Transportation Services. The Parking and Transportation Services excuse me, occupies this half of the building, and we'll be giving you tours in a minute. It was designed partly with us in mind, and the building works really well for us. As Ron said, one of the nice things that the ITC building integrates our operations with our local and regional transit providers, makes it much more efficient for our students and the broader community, and that works very well. Our mission in part is to utilize the university's transportation resources and distribute them to meet the varied needs of the campus community. And I just touch on a couple of our goals that allow us to meet that mission. One is to provide the safest and most effective transportation system we can, and that includes, as Ron mentioned, pedestrian, bicycle transit, vehicular circulation, and parking. The second one is to ensure sufficient mobility for all our students. We know how important that is for students, and this building allows us to do that. So that works very well also. And thank you to Smart Transit and Northwest Stage Lines, because that is that mobility that the students require. Not only getting around, in and around campus, but getting home for the holidays and things like that. So with that, I'll hand it off, or be happy to answer any questions later, but we'll also give you a tour later. Thank you.
Thanks, Carl. Wayne Krause, once again, Moscow City Council, and privilege of being president of Smart Transit of the Board of Directors. Thanks for coming. We're so proud of this facility. This, in the years I've been on the City Council, this was one of my heartfelt projects, is getting our local transportation hub put together in a singularly located area in a partnership with the University of Idaho and the City of Moscow. And as you can see, it's worked out really, really well. The parent name of Smart Transit is Regional Public Transportation Incorporated, and it is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we do provide ADA accessible and affordable public transportation options for the people within the City of Moscow. Well, Smart's purpose is to provide a safe, efficient, and cost-effective public transportation option for those who may not have any other means of transportation, or to anyone who chooses a more economical and environmentally friendly mode of transportation. As Smart Transit does provide two types, which I'm sure you're pretty much aware of, and that is a fixed route, and we have two fixed routes, and of course then we do offer naturally paratransit, ADA accessible rides too on an as-needed will-call basis, which we keep very busy every single day in doing that. Our fixed route service started in January of 2004, and it does consist of two loops, one on the east side of town and one on the west side of town. We were able to enhance our west loop when Walmart relocated. We also have some major medical complexes on the west side of town. So we were able to enhance that, even though it stretched our budget in order to be able to do that. Our ridership numbers actually are going to push over 180,000 this year in boardings. And primarily, it's interesting when I take a look at the graphs over the years on how this has happened, because when we first started in 2004, it was like 32,000, and then it just incrementally jumped up and got higher and higher. But now over the last 3 or 4 years, it's starting to kind of peak out. And so I take a look and I go, what the problem is, we reach certain segmented parts of our population, and there's vast areas within Moscow that we don't reach. And so obviously, you're going to be offering services to people within walking distance of your bus stops. And so pretty soon you start hitting the saturation point, which gets to the point to where we really need to be able to, we need a third route. We need to go further north, we need to go further south. Moscow's expanding population is going to the east, and we've got vast neighborhoods to the east that we could go to also. You know, it's all about funding. And I don't know if you folks are aware of it. The state of Idaho is one of 4 states in the entire country that does not provide any public transportation funds, other than the oversight of the FTA funds and 5311, 5310 funds, which we get. And as you know, those are getting to be a little bit less also. One of the comments that we've had is that, well, you know, you guys need to start charging for your riders. Your riders need to pay $1 or $2 every time. We've looked into that, and that's not out of the realm of possibility. Understand, though, that when you go from a free ridership to a paid ridership, you'll lose 40% of your riders. So all of a sudden, now you don't have a demand. Well, it's been brought up by Ron and it was brought up by Gary that one of the things that we have is a huge support from the City of Moscow and the University of Idaho, as well as the private sector, in support financially for our public transportation system. We look at that, and that's in lieu of charging for ridership on an individual basis. The University of Idaho's donations and funding for Smart Transit is really in lieu of the students having to pay a fee, and the cities in lieu of our citizens having to pay a fee, and bearing in mind that our citizens and students are all one and the same. So if we started charging for individual ridership, I start getting concerned that we'd start losing our local government support as far as funding is concerned there too. To date, we're well on the way to exceeding our passengers for last year. Our fixed rate service to date has already provided 85,000 rides. And if you take a look at our numbers within the city of Moscow, 24,000 people, the numbers of riders that we have, and you compare that to other types or other similar type of transportation systems within the state of Idaho, that just blows you away. Our cost per dollar, our cost per ride is so low compared to everybody else because of the efficiency and because of the types and numbers of rides that we're able to get. So, with that, we do appreciate you're taking the time to tour the facility, take a look at our buses, and your continued support for transportation is really going to be appreciated. And so, the next person that you're going to visit with is Cleo Archibald, and he is president of Northwest State. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's ridden the bus between Boise and McCall and Moscow? I know at least one guy lives here. Where's the, oh, he's around the corner. Good. Well, that's only a couple out of this whole crowd. You guys need to try the bus system from Boise to Spokane sometime.
The seats are great.
All right. We operate, this is a map of where we operate. The red lines being Northwestern Trailways, Boise to Spokane. We have regular route service to Wenatchee, Everett, Seattle, down to Tacoma. And then we also have a federally funded route through the state of Washington, from Omak down to Ellensburg. We receive federal funding on our route from Boise to Moscow. We're on our own from Moscow to Spokane. Part of the mission of the federal funding was to have connectivity in the interstate system. So in these areas, Boise, Spokane, you can see we make connections with Amtrak in Spokane. We make connections with Greyhound, both in Boise and Spokane, and then also in Spokane with the Gold Line to go on up to Colville and Cattle Falls. So we're really based around connectivity, not so much airport service. However, we do haul a pretty substantial amount of students during vacations out of Moscow and Pullman to the Spokane airport. Greyhound did a study a few years ago, and one of the biggest deterrents to people riding their buses is the poor location and of their facilities, which were built in the 40s and 50s, and we've all been to those bus stations in a bad part of town, and it's not a very nice place to be. I wish we had a whole bunch of these. This is the nicest facility that we operate out of in any of our routes. I know it takes federal dollars, it takes subsidy to build these kind of things, but we've noticed an increase in ridership out of Moscow since we started running into this facility. You have the city bus system where kids can connect to the bus to go to Boise or when they come back from Boise. And so it's just worked very well for us. And thank you for it. We thank you for the funding to get this done. And I know our time's short, so I'll cut it off there. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Okay, Suzanne. Suzanne Senior?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
And again, I'm Elisa Anderson, and I'm the grants manager for the city, and I kind of call this my building now. But I'll introduce Suzanne Senior from CTAI, and we're going to kind of change our agenda here because I know you guys need to get on the road. Suzanne's just going to share a couple words, and then I'm going to have Jan come up and do the closing statement for us. And then we'll go ahead and split into two groups and tour each side of the building. We have refreshments. Feel free to take what you want, get it back on the bus with it, and enjoy your ride to Potlatch.
Also, the restroom break if anybody needed one, was restrooms here.
Yes, the restrooms are right behind us here, and we're very glad that you came. So, Suzanne.
So I'm Suzanne Senior, and I'm the Mobility Manager for the Community Transportation Association of Idaho, or CTAI, and a fellow tenant in the building. This little office over here is a District 2 office for CTAI. I don't know if everybody knows what a Mobility Manager does and what CTAI does. We're a nonprofit statewide organization that tries to improve transportation options around the state. There's one of me in every single one of the 6 districts, and I know we've been before the board before and have talked to you guys. But I just wanted to share with you just a few updates. One was the connection for the inter-city bus service. We work collaboratively with ITD and DTP. Can't get all the letters down. IDT and DTP, as well as the mobility managers and the PTAC chairs, to put out an RFP to fulfill this gap in service that we have currently between Moscow and Coeur d'Alene. The deadline is today. We're very hopeful that very soon we'll be able to announce a provider that will fill that gap of service up to Coeur d'Alene before the students start in August. That's our goal and our hope. The other mobility update I'd like to give you is we've had a gap in service because Coast Transportation is no longer providing service as of early June. They were found to be incompliant of their required record keeping. We've been on that. I've been working with both SMART, Appaloosa Express, several of the private Medicaid providers, as well as the Disability Action Center, to try to fulfill the needs for those people that are currently without transportation. And we've done a pretty good job covering most needs. While ITD still is talking to Coast about becoming compliant, they're discussing that right now. I'm at the same time trying to research other options that may be able to fulfill the service if Coast no longer provides it. Several opportunities that I'm looking at right now are a potential voucher program that would allow other providers that are currently out there to provide services, or possibly a community van concept with volunteer drivers working in the van. So those are 2 things I'm looking at. And last but not least, I'd like to tell you guys about FindMyIdahoRide.org. It's a new online service offered to military veterans, their families, and all Idahoans. CTAI had gotten a grant to do a one-click online service to provide information about all transportation options throughout the state of Idaho. And it goes into Washington and Montana as well. So Senator Mike Crapo kicked it off in spring. We're now just rolling it out to everybody here in the district. So I will be going and talking to veterans groups as well as human service agencies and the general public about that tool. I have handouts about it as well. So just in closing, just kind of echoing what Wayne said, when I think about what really makes our community strong, access to all the things that we need to have good lives are really important. And public transportation is a real big key to that. Making sure our seniors can age in place, our workers can access jobs, and young people have the opportunity to get education, get jobs, what have you. Public transportation is really key, especially in such a rural area that we're in. So I thank you for your support in the past. I look forward to your continued support, and can always hope for a little stepped-up support. So with that, thanks so very much.
And I'd just like to congratulate the City of Moscow and the University of Idaho with this wonderful partnership. When Tiger II was announced by Secretary Ray LaHood, he characterized it as an innovative 21st century project that will change the U.S. transportation landscape by strengthening the economy, creating jobs, and that is very much the mission of ITC too. So I think we're on the same page. That's economic development and job creation is a lot about what we're trying to do. And transportation is essential for that to occur. There were over 1,000 grant applications submitted, and Moscow was one of 17 selected for rural grants. So obviously they were very competitive and very successful, so congratulations, City of Moscow, and wonderful facility. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. And we just had, we had a professional photographer came and took pictures. A few of you had these, but I wanted our District 2 rep to have her own.
Thank you so much. That's beautiful.
And Jenny is going to take as many people through tours of this part of the building, and Carl is going to do the other side. So maybe we just split where we are right here and go that way and that way.